Hi, hello, welcome to LANCER, or more about it, or specifically, you've seen the title. If you're wondering what LANCER is, well, I have a wonderful video right there for you to go and see. It's a very, very, very rough but quick intro to some of the general stuff in the setting. But today, in specific, we're talking about a cheery topic. Well, no, the opposite of cheery. It's the fall of humanity. Or more specific terms, just what's generally called the fall, or the end of the Anthropocene, or the Dark Age, or the mix of things. The budding humanity that began to curl in on itself like a dead spider. Now, when it comes to this, and Lancer lore in general, the stuff that's from the fall and before it, and before Union, is very dodgy. Some of the earliest of guaranteed known events are, or at least when it's important and pertinent to the setting, is 6,000 years before 0 BU. Or no. 0 AU? After U? 0 U. When it comes to anything before Union or before 0 U, it's a bit vague. It's a time lost to history to an extent. Not quite, but you'll see. Namely because it's a dark age. Isn't that wonderful? It's not worse than a dark age. It's not just post-apocalypse. It's in fact majority apocalypse and then post-apocalypse. And then we get on with 0 U. I guess to begin with is talking about the Anthropocene, or what the fall marks the end of it. Or the end of the fall marks the end of the Anthropocene, which is a geological term for the time period where humans have had a grand impact on the planet Earth. Can you see where this is going? 6,000 BU, before Union. The status of the Sol system and of humanity and of Earth. They have a few off-world colonies, namely the Moon and Mars are actually quite well populated. There's some stations out near some of the gas giants. It's not going that bad. There's massive shipyard docks out in orbit. It's relatively, at least when it comes to the space exploration front, beginning pretty well. Earth's dying, which prompts the building of the first of the 10. Apollo. Man, that lost all the drama from it. The 10 are massive, just gotta keyword that in there, generational ships that were sent off in the deep space at sublight, because the technology for near light wasn't developed yet, or at least wasn't known. In 6,000 years BU, before Union, is when the Apollo was built, the first of the 10. All the nations were scrambling to make their own different generational ships. The Apollo was the test flight. Everything else was being built around the same time as well, but Apollo was the first finish and the first sent. And the Apollo would land on a planet called Caracas. The trade baronies. Though they're not that yet at this time, so kind of, well actually, no, we're not touching on that. They'll get their own thing, their own spotlight. Nah, this is for humanity's death. They can sit over there. Message comes back from the Apollo, proves that, oh my goodness, it was actually a successful mission. The remaining 9 are launched. And shortly after that, and by shortly it's in the case of like a century, the remnants of Earth begin to infight, and the system at large. As everything that had been going on and what Union historians had documented was the Earth was already falling apart before the Apollo was launched. Climate change death, isn't that fun? Well, it's not climate change not just climate change, but it was like geoengineering projects that went wrong, other global conflicts, internal fighting, disease running rampant, and, by the time Apollo and the other 9 leave, nuclear warfare. Nah, it's not good. So it's all some of the worst case scenarios of the projected climate change end, and then nuclear war put on top of that? And that's just Earth. We're not even talking about the stations and various outposts and colonies falling into disarray, which very few survived. Now, this is the actual falling of the fall. How long do you think it lasts? Oh, wait. 5,000 years. It was a 5,000-year dark age. 5,000 years. That's a long time. It was the point that Earth was stabilizing a bit, some of the forest fires going out, plants growing back, the few remaining humans becoming resilient that did actually survive, only about 100,000, or a few 100,000. And again, the few 100,000 were from Earth's peak, which was in the way more billions than we are right now. But as the human population stabilizes and then actually begins to grow, stable food crops are brought back, things can actually survive, animals, the few that remain, are actually spreading and diversifying, again, like over 5,000 year period at this point. But early humanity, or at least what it thought of itself as early humanity, the survivors, managed to move around, form tribes, take down old ancient walking machines, or worship them, or hunt them down, use them. Relics of the past scavenged for and then used against one another. Tribes, towns, kingdoms, empires. It all repeated once again. That was in this period, which is such an entertaining idea of basically getting back to the age of sail again, but in a post-apocalypse. where you have some high-tech stuff lying around. It's an interesting image. But the Age of Sail equivalent empires, or at least my guesstimate of what level of tech they were, ended up discovering one of the massive vaults. Turns out, before the end of everything, there were secret vaults laid way underground with various bits of human tech, data, artifact storage, and just stuff to reboot civilization. Amongst those as well are early developments of near-light drives. Now, if you know the time-wise and when those vaults were closed, that meant when the generational ships were still being made and about to be sent off, someone on Earth already had near-light travel, or close to it. And they hoarded it. Now, the question also goes into what other tech was hoarded away, which was actually quite a bit, but it's left outside of, there were multiple vaults, they were scavenged for, wars fought over them, ancient tech brought back to bear, and this would come into the event called the Little Wars. I think it's retroactively called the Little Wars because of the way Union developed and how long it's been, how large the conflicts have gotten, to be compared to this one planet. Because that's the thing, when you start in your modern time, which is 5,000 you having planet conflicts on multiple system fronts across a galaxy, one squabbles of empire with some high-tech stuff on one world begin to look quite little. But also for political beliefs, because of what would come from the Little Wars. Because of out of all the infighting, I say infighting, but because of all the warring, fighting, ancient tech brought to bear again, the few survivors of that conflict, again, had put down their weapons and agreed to form an organization that would focus on the preservation of humanity, because as the vaults had proved, they were not the first. And they were going to make sure they weren't the last. And they made a union. And the calendar started again. And also what pre-fall humanity was like, we also don't know. Outside of consumerist and very, very, very industrialized. Now, some benefits of the fall, or downsides, depending on how you look at it, is most of what I just covered is all you're going to get. Or at least in the sense of what you'll find in the base book. Because there's not much more information on pre-fall humanity. Outside of a few artifacts here or there that have been found, ancient tech or ancient structures built, not much of it left Cradle, unless there was secret stuff, or especially because the near-light drive was found from a vault, not after. And then the 5 voices, you get into stuff of what were the true technological levels of pre-fall humanity, or where was their tech aligned, because they got close to some of the tech in Lancer in modern times. The question is, where? So you can run it in your games that pre-fall humanity had some like really, really high-tech stuff, but it was kept to the elites, hence why the majority of humanity still suffered. Or it focused on things like weaponry. Maybe there was a private generational ship that was sent off long, long ago with that near-light drive that's just full of these generations of bureaucrats and high-level CEOs and exec descendants, and it just hasn't landed yet because technology has outpaced them. Maybe ancient humanity was just on the verge in some private sectors on breaking paracausal tech. Maybe they sent some ancient AI terraformers out there long ago on top of the generational ships, or before them. Maybe there's more things like the 5 voices out there somewhere, waiting to be awakened again, or running programs who knows the results of. And if you're wondering what the 5 voices are, and some of the other stuff of Union, how they actually got ahead of Vance, near-light drives, and the conflicts with its previous colonies, and the 10, well, hey, if this video does well, I'll do more Lancer. I'm happy to do it. Thank you all for watching. I know this was a bit short, but again, not much on the fall. It's left for you to be filled in, or isn't necessarily important to the modern story of Lancer. What really is the fact it did fall, came back, and the history of Union and the rest of the galaxy since then. At least that's what's relevant. I mean, ancient humanity didn't really get out of its solar system that much. And the key thing with that is it was the Great Filter. Or, at least we think. At least Union thinks. The question is, there's some people in Union that don't. Oh! Hi! What am I doing here again? Right, I was supposed to be in this video to tell you about a Patreon I now have. Yeah, that's down in the description. Details will be there and on the Patreon itself. But if you want to throw a few bucks that way, that'll be great. There's more information in a post on the Patreon at the moment, so if you have any questions, head there. Anyway, back to the video. And you, thanks for watching. Bye.